So in Adobe Bridge, when you open up Adobe Bridge, you're going to have a 3-column layout, left, middle, and right. That's a common layout that's going to travel into Lightroom. So you want to just know that, get familiar with having this 3-column layout. On the left-hand side, what you're going to see is some shortcuts or favorites, some quick jumping to things that are commonly used on the computer. So on the shortcuts, on the shortcuts, you're going to see computer or the name of your computer, whatever your computer name is. And that's going to show you all the hard drives connected to your computer. Now, right now, I'm going through sorting through a lot of my photos and working on a couple different projects at once. So I have an enormous amount of hard drives plugged into my computer at the current moment. That's why there's so many things here. It also shows you your internal hard drive. My internal hard drive is called Macintosh HD. That's the hard drive that's inside of my computer. All these other ones are actual, if you see my desk, external drives that are sitting on my desk that I have plugged into my computer. The next one is your username for your computer. So your username gives you access to some of the main shortcuts on your computer, like your desktop, your documents, your downloads folder, pictures, so on and so on, your music folder. And then some of those things are pulled out here. So that's the left panel, shortcuts, okay? So the thing that I want you to go to is computer, and I want you to find, this is the process that you would take. You would find your drive that has your photos. Now, if you have your SD card plugged into your computer, it might probably look like the SD card icon. This SD card doesn't have a bunch of photos. It actually has sound, audio. So 1 second, let me plug in an SD card that has photos in it. Now, also one thing, depending on which computer you have or what programs you have installed, when you plug an SD card into your computer might want to do something automatic. Whatever window pops up, if Lightroom pops up, if you already have Lightroom open, or if you have Dropbox installed on your computer and it asks you, do you want to import these photos through to Dropbox? Anything that your computer is asking you to do automatically when you plug something in, don't do it. Just hit cancel. It's going to confuse the process, at least for this process, until you get comfortable. Because basically your mindset right now is when we're using the camera, we want to manually control everything. And when you're importing your photos or putting them onto your hard drive or in Lightroom, you want to manually control that process as well. Cancel out anything that pops up and asks you to do any type of automation or anything like that. It's just going to make life easier and eliminate some of the variables with troubleshooting. Okay.
I uploaded mine already through my mini USB and I just put it on a file. Is that okay?
So we need to find exactly where the photos are. And
yeah.
Once you do that, you can pick up in the next step. We're going to organize the photos. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the way I uploaded it wasn't going to mess anything up.
Yeah, just try to have control of the upload process from the very start, because you want to control where the photos go. That's the idea. We're trying to control where the photos go. A lot of times your computer's just like, oh, it's on your computer and it's in some type of program and you don't really know where the photos are. For this process, we're going to need to know where the files go. So in this instance, when I plugged in that new memory card, it actually doesn't look like a memory card. It looks like a separate drive here. It's called EOS Digital. So when I click on this, then I have a few folders. Most of the cameras are going to create a DCIM folder. DCIM is where your photos will be. There's multiple folders on here if you like record video and stuff. But for the photos, DCIM is where you're going to want to live. When you click in that, you're also then going to see some separate folders. They're kind of time-stamped. The numbers might not make sense, but you want to find the folder that has your photos in it. So I'm going to click through, and here's some photos in this folder. Okay. Now, in Bridge does do a good job of showing you a preview of the raw photos. Like, it can actually process the photos and show you. So that's one benefit of Bridge, that it can actually show you a preview of the raw photos better than Explorer or Finder. So as I'm scrolling through here, I'm just going to select a few, and these are really large photos, so I'm not going to select all of them. I'm just going to select a few for this demo. Same thing, how you would do it in Explorer or Finder. I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to select the first one. I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to go down to the next one that I want to select and select my series of photos. So here are my photos. These are the ones that I want to import for this demo. They're selected. You know they're selected because they're highlighted with blue. Okay. So we make our selection. That's the first thing. So we'll recap. I'm in my memory card right now. This is showing my memory card. I know that because if I look at the top left here, I can see my breadcrumbs from where I came from. I came from my computer to my memory card to the folder where these raw files live. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to right click. If you have a trackpad, 2-finger click the right side of the trackpad, the right side of your mouse, secondary click, so I get my secondary menu pop up. It looks something like this. Now, this is also the benefit of Bridge, is that everybody's menu is going to look like this if you right click on your selection. Notice all the photos are still selected as long as I right click. If you click and then only one photo is selected, you didn't quite do it right. You select them all again and then just right click. Now, whatever we select in this menu is going to get applied to our entire selection. Okay. So what we want to do is go to copy to. Now, if you already have your photos on your computer, but in like a random folder where it put it, you can do this process as well. You can find the random folder on the left-hand side and move or copy your photos to a different location this way as well. So what we're going to do is, notice I'm just hovering over copy to and I get a secondary menu. I'm going to go to choose folder down here at the bottom, choose folder. And now I'm going to click once. Another note during this process, don't get like click happy where it's not working, or double click everything. Single click and wait, and just see if your computer does something. A lot of times we get, anxious or frustrated, or we rush through this process and you click on something or do something or send photos somewhere and it's really hard to track down what you did. So slow down back when you're going through this process and just take it step by step. So you're going to hit choose folder. And when you do that, it's going to open Finder or Explorer. It's going to be a very similar window to what you're used to seeing. Now, one caveat of, so it's going to open the windows. So what you want to do is find your hard drive. This is where we start our file management. I'm going to find my hard drive, the one I've been using, and I'm going to go to my FITM folder in my hard drive and the fall 2020 folder, and I'm going to make a new folder for this class. BDSN 3700 FA2020. Now, inside of this folder, I'm going to make another folder. That folder is going to be named whatever the project is. Whatever the project name is, I want to make a folder for that project name. So in this instance, I'm going to make a folder called Light Study Demo. For me, it's a demo, but you guys will make a folder called Light Study. Now, we're not done. Don't jump ahead and be like, oh, I made the folder, I'm done. That's where the photos go. We need to make one more folder. The folder needs to designate the file types, like what file types we are putting inside of this folder. So any idea what we should name this folder before we put our photos in it?
Raw.
Yes, raw. So we just make that, and you come down here and you click on the word open. And the top, it's going to show you a progress bar. Copying the photos off of your memory card onto your hard drive. Depending on how many photos it is and the speed of your computer and your hard drive will determine how long this takes. So we'll let this go. When it's done, we'll move on to the next step. And this is some time for you guys to go ahead and organize your shots, if you can, in a folder for the class, in a project folder, and in a folder called raw. I want you guys to like go through that process. So just take a second if you haven't done that already, and just go ahead and make a new folder for the class, wherever you put it. If you put it on your hard drive or you put it on your computer, that's, you know, if you don't have a hard drive plugged in, that's okay. And just organize the raw files in a folder for class, for the project, and then in a folder called raw. And I'll show you the file structure of that folder here, just so you guys can see that.
So all my files have moved into a new folder except for one, and it keeps telling me an error has occurred during the operation, the move operation.
Okay, try to copy instead of move. It's two separate functions. Moving actually removes from the original location and puts it in the new location, where copying leaves it in the original location. That might help. If not, then something might have happened in the transfer where that particular file is corrupted. That does happen sometimes. Rare, but it happens.
I got it with the copy and paste.
Okay.
But it seems like they kind of went out of order now. As far as movement, like light movement.
They're gonna be all right, because the file names, it should be fine when it gets into Lightroom. And you might be able to rearrange the view order. What type of computer do you have?
Lenovo.
A Windows computer?
Yeah, it's Windows.
Yeah. So in Explorer, are you using Bridge? Or are you using Explorer?
Bridge.
So in Bridge, in your view, you can view by file name. And sort, if you hit sort, and then you can sort by file name, or you can sort by date created. Like there's different sort options, and that might rearrange things for you in order. Okay, so if you guys look here on the left, you can see my hierarchy of my folder structure. I'm in my hard drive now. I have a bunch of folders because I'm crazy and I have a bunch of folders. But eventually I get down to FINM, then I get down to fall, and I have the folder for the class, and then Light Study Demo, the assignment folder. And then in that folder, there's a raw folder. It's gonna make sense that we put the photos in a raw folder, because there's gonna be other things that we end up putting in this project or assignment folder. So you don't want your folder to get cluttered. So we just group them together in a folder called raw. Okay.
Really quick question. Sorry, Richard.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
Do you know if there's any way to plug the memory card into an iMac computer, or do you need a special kind of?
On the back of the computer, there should be a SD card slot.
Okay, that's what I thought because I'm looking at it right now. Because my hard drive that I ordered, it's not working. Like I can't get the SD card into the hard drive.
The hard drive is not showing up when you plug it into your computer.
No, there's no way for me to get the memory card into the hard drive.
Right, but the hard drive, did you plug the hard drive into your computer?
Yeah, yeah, it's not working at all. So
it's not showing up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna need, you do have a Mac computer, so you're gonna need to format your hard drive. The hard drive is not formatted for Mac out the box. So that is something that you need to do. I want you to be able to follow along with us to do this. Yeah. So
I could get the memory card into the iMac without any like external.
Yeah. So the memory card's always going to plug into the computer, and your hard drive is going to plug into the computer. Both things are going to be plugged into the computer, but I want your hard drive to work, and that's the thing that I want you to do. So let's real quick, because I want you to be able to follow along with everything that we're doing. Do you have your hard drive plugged into the computer right now?
I can have it. Yes, I'm gonna.
Can you plug the hard drive into the computer?
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk you through how to format the hard drive. Guys, there's always going to be, as we go through this, there's going to be slight technical difficulties because so many people using different pieces of technology. There's just no way around it, and it's the first time that a lot of you are doing this process. So just bear with us as we get through these, and then we'll get through this. That's why we're doing this in week 3, so we get this out of the way. All right, Scarlett, do you got the hard drive plugged in?
Yes,
okay, can you share your whole desktop? So share your screen. Down at the bottom, you should see a green, and then share the whole desktop with me.
Sorry,
if you hit share screen, and then it's the first square on the left.
Okay.
Top corner. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you see it, or did it do it?
Did you hit share?
Yeah.
It didn't initiate yet.
Okay.
The option should go away once you hit share.
It's saying allow Zoom to share your screen, and then it says open system prep. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Everybody's going to have something that they're going to need help with in this process. It's definitely.
Okay.
Okay, cool. We're good. Yeah. So what I want you to do is go to, did you share? Yeah, okay, I think you're fine. Go to system, in the search, type disk utility.
Into system preferences or Finder?
In Finder.
Okay.
And then, this Mac. Click on this Mac next to this word search. Yeah, okay. There you go. Double click on that. Awesome. Now, on the left-hand side.
Yep.
Can you move the window over to the right so I can see the left window? Yeah, and click on Easy Store. Okay, perfect. Now go to Erase, the top.
Oh, yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, on that format, click that drop-down menu. Awesome. And then the format that you want to select is you want to select Mac OS journaled. So extended, that one. That one, the first one, not encrypted. Mac OS extended journaled. Yes. Name the drive. Just, you can name it your name or whatever you want to name it. Okay, now hit erase.
Can I also do this on the iMac as well?
One, you're doing this on like your laptop or your laptop? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't have to do this. The drive will just, you'll be able to
Oh,
plug
okay.
this into, you'll be able to plug this into the iMac and it will show up. Okay, so hit done. Okay, now click back on the Scarlett hard drive.
Yep.
And then go to partition. Okay, 1 second. Just want to tell you to do the right thing. We're almost done. And then
Okay.
we can get back into it.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Okay, so we're just gonna do this. You're gonna go back to erase.
Okay, so cancel.
Yeah, hit cancel. Go to erase.
Okay.
We're gonna just change the format. Click the format. Go down to exFAT at the bottom and hit erase. Now it shortened the name of your drive, but it's fine.
Okay.
It's gonna still be fine. Hit done.
Okay.
Okay. Now you can plug that into your iMac and it should show up. You should see your drive. You should be able to add files to the drive. It will work.
Excellent.
And then you can plug in your memory card to the back of the iMac as well, and you'll see both of them pop up as drives, the memory card and the hard drive.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep, definitely. All right. So getting back into it, the step we're in the process is that we have moved our photos from our memory card to our hard drive. First step. That's the first step. That's the most important first step. If you don't do that first, then it gets really confusing and you might be, you're going to be kind of chasing where you're at in the process. And so we don't want that to happen. Okay. All right. So this is fine. If you guys have RAW or you have JPEGs, it's okay for this assignment. This assignment, we just want to be able to get some photos that you took onto your computer into Lightroom and get them into a format that we can share for homework, okay? So now we have our photos in the appropriate folder. Cool. You have them in the appropriate folder. Now what we want to do is go to Lightroom. This is the time that we go to Lightroom, okay? So just to check, you want to make sure that you have Lightroom Classic. It's important. The other Lightroom is a different Lightroom. The icon looks like LRC, Lightroom Classic. If it just has LR, that's a different program and you need to download Lightroom Classic. Okay, so once you open Lightroom, we're gonna go to Library tab. You'll see it up here at the top and you'll see words, library, develop, map, book, slideshow, print, web. You wanna go to the Library tab, right? Now the Library tab is going to, your Library tab, when you click it, it's gonna be empty in the middle. Notice the layout, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. My middle tab has a bunch of photos because I have a bunch of photos already in Lightroom. yours, you're starting. This is your first go. So this is gonna probably be empty. It's probably gonna be a gray screen, okay? But on the left-hand side, you're gonna have a tab, and on the right-hand side, you're gonna have a tab. The important thing that we wanna, the function that we're gonna be doing right now is the function called import. It's down here in the bottom left-hand corner. So we're in the library tab, then we go to import down here in the left-hand corner, import. Once you click import, this window pops up. It's a very similar window, by the way. My computer's moving slow this morning, so give it a second. Wow, very slow. Goodness. Sorry, guys. Computer wants to do the pinwheel of death.
So another like program opened up when I opened up Bridge, and it looks like it's Photoshop, and it's like wanting to, it just says like raw on top.
You must have double clicked on the photo. And you must have shot in RAW as well, because that only opens up if you have RAW photos. You must have double clicked on the photo, so just close it.
Okay, free?
Yeah, it opened like Photoshop.
Free?
Yeah, because that makes sense. I'll explain why in a little bit, but like you must have double clicked on a single photo. Yeah. So you can just close that and then just go to Lightroom and then go to import. Okay, so in Lightroom, when you press import, you see this window. Again, 3 columns, 1, 2, and 3. On the left-hand side, we have a tab menu similar to what we saw on Bridge, but basically this is all the drives connected to your computer. On the left-hand side, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go find the photos that I just saved to my hard drive. So I just saved the photos for the light study demo in a folder on my hard drive. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna click through the drop-down options until I get to that raw folder. If my computer will comply at all today. You're gonna have a lot less folders to sift through. So your process to find your photos is gonna be really simpler than mine, okay? Just letting you know. But eventually you get to that raw folder and then the photos populate in the middle of your screen. The photos that you put in that raw folder. The other thing to note is that all of these photos have a check mark. They're all selected, right? And so everything is checked. And these are the photos that we've put into the folder. The nice thing about this is that we've already organized the photos. We know that these are the raw files that we want to work with for this particular project, and they're all here. So that everything is checked. Don't jump and press import yet. There's one more step we want to do. So we want to organize this photo information in Lightroom. Lightroom is doing something called referencing. Lightroom is not moving your photos into a different folder. Lightroom is not actually opening all of the photos at once. All Lightroom is doing is making a note, like a map almost, of where your photos are, where your raw files are. So by showing you this, Lightroom is only technically showing you a preview. It's just a preview of what's in that folder. So every time we import into Lightroom, we are not doing the same function that we did previously, which is copying from our memory card to our hard drive. That's actually moving the actual location and file sizes of the photos. Lightroom is not doing that. Lightroom is just, when we hit import, it makes a note. It goes, so your photos are in this folder, on this drive. It's a reference. Think of it like a real physical library. When you walk into a physical library, I know that is not a common thing anymore, but the physical library has something called a card catalog. In that card catalog are cards with reference numbers and aisle numbers of where the books are. The books aren't in that card catalog. You just read the card and then you go get the book. Lightroom is essentially a card catalog that can show you a preview that you can also manipulate and edit with some magic. So what we need to do though is organize our card catalog. So on the right-hand side under file handling, right? File handling, there is a button or a tab. So you see it here, file handling. Yours might be wrapped up and you need to expand it with the drop-down arrow. You're gonna see a tab here called Add to Collection. You wanna click that. Now, when you guys click it, you're not gonna see any collections. Again, I've been using Lightroom for a very long time and I have thousands of collections. But what you're gonna wanna do is add your first collection. So you're gonna hit the plus button and it's gonna open this window and it's gonna ask you to name your collection. We're gonna name our collection the name of the project. Light Study Demo, and for me, because I have many of these, Fall 2020. Name your collection and then hit Create. What that does is that two things happen when you hit import. It adds all the notes of where the photos are and the files are, but it also groups them together into a collection. I'll show you why this is important when you have a bunch of photos and a bunch of basically imports into Lightroom once we hit import. So once you do that, add a collection, you're gonna hit import. Lightroom is gonna show you a progress bar at the top left. The progress bar for Lightroom is always at the top left. Shows you how far along it is in the process. Today, my computer's going slow. I don't know why. And as it moves and the progress goes, the files will populate in the center screen. So give it a sec, it'll do this. As you can see, the files start to pop up in the center screen. Lightroom can be kind of confusing because the windows don't look all that different. Like the import window looked very similar to the window that we're in right now. So it can sometimes you can get lost and be like, wait, what window am I? Am I in import or am I in the main library window? So you kind of have to keep track of your order of what you're doing, right? So now I'm in the library tab. You can see because the word library is highlighted at the top. And I see all the photos that I just imported. If you come down here on the left-hand side, the only drop down that you want to use on the left-hand side in the library tab is collections. Everything else, catalog, folders, and published services, don't touch. Okay, just collections. Now, here's why I wanted to show you why the organization of collections is important. I have if I go to all my photographs in my Lightroom catalog, like the card catalog that I described at a library, Give it a sec. Man. I have 169,319 photos, total files that I've registered in Lightroom, dating back to 2015. If I didn't organize every time I put new files into Lightroom, I would never be able to find anything because the file names are not unique. They don't represent what I did or what I was shooting. But because I did organize, I can go now and through my collections, find Light Study Demo Fall 2020. And filter my view to only the photos or the files for this particular project. That's why it's important. Again, we did nothing to where the files live on your computer or your hard drive. They didn't move. All Lightroom is doing is going, let's take a look at where you told me the files are. Why this is important. If you take your hard drive out of your computer or change the name of the folder that the files live in, Lightroom doesn't know you did that. It only makes the note when you import them to Lightroom. So if you happen to change something or not have your hard drive plugged in, Lightroom's gonna go, I don't know where the files are. You told me they were in this one place and now they're not. So you either need to plug your hard drive back in or tell Lightroom where the new location of your files are. Now, I'm gonna leave that solution and that, figuring that out to when it happens. So if you happen to run across a little tiny exclamation mark in the top right-hand corner of your photos in Lightroom, let me know. And we can work on relocating or resyncing up the location of your photos. Okay, so now you have this, you have your stuff all loaded, you're good to go in Lightroom, and we can move on to the next step in the process. I want to take a quick break because I know that's been a lot, and I just give you guys your brains a second to breathe. And I want to come back at 10 a.m. So it's almost 9:45 right now. And when we come back, we're going to chat about what to do next, where we go next now that we see our photos or our files in Lightroom. Okay? Cool. So quick 15-minute break, come back at 10, and then we'll get back into it with Lightroom. All right. See you in a second.
Thanks.
Now the screen we're looking at again is the library screen where we're looking at our collection. And just so you know, down at the bottom, once you do import, it's going to show you something called previous import. So if you look down here, it names what is currently viewing in your film strip. This is your film strip down here at the bottom. And it's going to be named after you import. It's going to say previous import. You can go to the collections tab on the left-hand side and click on the actual collection, and it'll change the name to the actual name of the collection. So this down here at the bottom is called your film strip. It shows you a listing of all the photos that you're working with. Up here is your view window. And we're not going to do much in library. Most of what we do is going to happen in develop. So when you go to develop at the top, you'll notice that the default view changes to individual. You see the individual photo one by one. And when now you can navigate through the film strip with the arrows on your keyboard, left and right, once you click on the film strip. And what that does is it shows you the actual photos as you go through the film strip. And you see the photos, so on and so forth as you tap through individually. Why this is important, because eventually we're going to get to a point in Lightroom where we're going to be making some slight adjustments and modifications to highlights and darks and shadows and colors. And so you want to be able to see the photo in its entirety. This is also why you want to get into the habit of not deleting photos from your camera as you shoot. Now, I know it's a habit that a lot of people do because on things like your cell phone, you're trying to save space, and if you take a bad photo, you'll delete it right away. On these cameras, the screens are fairly small, and you want to not make a judgment call on what's bad and what's good on such a small screen. You want to wait till we get into Lightroom to make that call, because Lightroom actually has some tools and features that allow you to sift through your photos and select the good ones and mark the bad ones. And also the SD cards that you have in your camera are large enough to hold all the photos you're going to take. So don't worry about, I don't want you to keep looking at the camera and deleting the photos that you don't need. We can do all of that in the computer. Okay, so now we're here and we want to, I'm going to show you the action of picking selects, picking the ones that you want to continue to move forward with, and see if after you edit them, you want those to be the main ones that you turn in. But for the light study project, it's a unique project. We are actually going to turn in every single shot, even the bad ones. I just want to see what you did with shooting. But that being said, I do want to show you this. So in order to pick a select, what you'll do is on the photo, we're on the photo, we're going to press the letter P as in pick on your keyboard. What that does is it flags your photo as pick. You can see it gives you a little notification that you've flagged the photo as a pick. The other thing that it does is Lightroom loves to do small indicators, small, tiny indicators. So on the film strip itself, it's hard for you to see on my computer. There in the top left-hand corner, there'll be a white flag when you press the letter P. Now, just for practice, if you go to the next photo and you press the letter X, it rejects the photo and it puts a black flag on the tile in the film strip. And it also kind of grays it out. Why this is important is because of picking the ones you want to work with and rejecting the ones you don't, is that when you reject photos, you can go back and in one fell swoop, delete those photos from Lightroom and your hard drive. Why this is important is that the photos are fairly large, so they're taking up a lot of space. So if there's a bad photo that you're never going to do anything with, why keep it on your hard drive? So you want to go ahead and reject it and label it for later so you can go and clear it out, clear some space out. Now, if this was a normal project, you would shoot maybe upwards of 40 photos, and I would ask you to turn in only 6. So what you would have to do is go through and pick and reject the photos that you want to potentially use. Now, the first time you do this, the first pass is not the final selection. It's just the first pass. So if you know that you need to turn in 6 photos, your first pass, you'll probably select 12 or 15 out of the 30. edit them, really see one next to the other, and decide which are the ones that you want to finally use. So just for a demo, I'm just going to go through and I'm actually just going to randomly pick a bunch. And I'm just pressing the letter P on my keyboard. And then I'm going to reject a few. So you just see how that looks. And then the great thing is that Lightroom allows you to filter the film strip. So over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to select where it says filters off by default. And you can see that here where my cursor is. Some of you may see something like this where the word filter is collapsed. If you click on this word filter, it'll open up some other options. And then this drop-down menu says filters off. If you click on flag, what that does is it shows me only the photos that I've pressed the letter P on. That helps you narrow it down. Narrow down to the shots that you want to potentially use for the final shot. Now, for example, say that I wanted to select 6 photos out of this 10. How could I narrow it down even more? There are some options as well. If I hit like any number 1 through 5, I can label my photos with a rating. So I'm just going to do 3. I'm just going to press the number 3 on 6 of the photos. Anything you do also in Lightroom is reversible. If I press 3 and I don't like it, I can press 0 and it has no rating. If I flag it and I don't actually want to flag it as a pick, you can click the little flag in the left-hand corner and it'll take it away. If you reject it, you can also do the same. You can unreject. Nothing is permanent in Lightroom, but also Lightroom remembers every action that you do. So there's no need to hit save. There's no need to do that manually. Lightroom is remembering all the actions that you do. All right, so now I starred some photos with the number 3. I'm gonna go here in my filtering section here, and I'm just gonna click on the 3rd star. Now, this little symbol here, the greater than, less than symbol, I can change that and say rating equal to 3, and it only shows me 3 stars. Now, these are the 6 photos that I would potentially want to use for to turn in. So that's how you can filter through your shots. And I can always go back to everything by going back to this drop-down menu and turning the filters off. Everything comes back in order. Lightroom does organize the photos in timestamp order. So chronological order, and you cannot rearrange it. Don't worry about that though. That's not a problem. Things can always get rearranged later. But just so you know, you're always going to see your photos in chronological order in Lightroom. Okay. Now, what I want you guys to do a light study, because we're not picking selects in light study. We're actually just, I want to see all the photos that you took. There's 2 things that we need to do. One is export all of the photos individually into a file type that we can share. Now, we talked about earlier, those file types are different file types than raw file types. So for this process, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the exporting process. How do we export all of these individual shots into individual JPEGs that are the appropriate size for you to use to turn in for your assignment? First things first we want to do is hit select all. So there's a quick key for select all, Command A or Control A, but you can hit Command A and everything in your film strip gets selected. You can see that on mine, how everything is selected. Now, so that this goes faster, I'm not going to select everything because these photos are really big and my computer's running slow today. I'm only going to select a select few. But for you guys and your light study, I want you to select all the photos. Okay. Similar to what we did in Bridge, when we selected our photos, when we brought them from a memory card, we're going to right click on our selection and it's going to bring up a menu. And you're going to hover over the word export. And then you're going to click on the word export. So we've selected the photos that we want to turn in for the assignment in the film strip. We've right clicked on that selection. And now we have the word export, and then we're going to click on the word export. When you do that, a new window pops up. So we're going to start from the top down, and I want you guys to go slow with me and follow every single step. Another good thing about Lightroom is that once you set an action and you do it, it remembers the last thing you did and it opens the window in that way. So a lot of these things you won't have to do twice. You just have to do it this once. One of those things is right here, the very first top option, export to. What we want to do is export to a hard drive. Very, very top, export to hard drive. Now, if you guys are following along, what I want you to do is go ahead and close all of these tabs so that we can go through them one by one. Okay, so again, first things first, export to hard drive. You won't have to touch this again. Lightroom will remember that option. Next, export location. You want to go ahead and open that up. You want to, first things first, uncheck put in subfolder. We should not have a check there, no check. Once you do it once, you won't have to do that again. The next thing you want to do is the next thing, export to, and we want to select specific folder, the option that says specific folder. Again, we're trying to do this manually. We want to control where all of our files go. That's the whole premise of this. Control where your files go. So specific folder. Then next, we're going to hit the option that says choose. That's going to open up your Finder or Explorer again. Any idea where we want to put these exported files? Does anybody have any idea where we want to put these exported files?
The file we made for
A new folder?
New folder where?
under light study.
Under the project folder. Yeah. So you want to go to the project folder wherever you put that. And we want to name this folder though, something specific. So in the project folder, we have a folder named raw. But what are we doing right now? What is the action that we're doing right now? We are going through the process of what process are we doing right now? When I right clicked on our selection, I selected a certain option. Started with an E.
Exporting.
We're exporting. So what should we name this new folder in the project folder? These files are our final, but probably more specific is exports. These files are exports because we're exporting them. So we started with raw files and now we have our exports. Now, notice I haven't hit choose yet. Reason being is that I want you to make one more folder. This is gonna make sense a little bit further down in our settings, but basically what we have here is we are about to export files for you to upload to the internet. You're about to upload these files and turn them in. There is a certain resolution that digital files can be, and we can see it at its highest quality. That resolution is a 2-digit number. Conversely, there is a resolution for photos that we will eventually print on paper. That resolution is a 3-digit number. Does anybody know those two different numbers? The resolution for digital files and the resolution for files that you want to print on paper.
JPEG is for print and PDF
So
is a
that's
file?
file type. So
Okay.
resolution is a number.
Gotcha.
72 and 300.
72 and 300. Which one is for digital files?
300.
Other way around.
Okay, 72. Okay.
More dots. We need 300 pixels per inch or dots per inch to print an image and see it in its proper quality. We need less dots per inch to see an image on a computer, on a phone screen, on an email, and those type of things. The thing is that the more dots per inch that you have, the larger your file size is. The harder it is to, say, send over the internet or attach to an email. So in this instance, you know that you are going to be sending these files over the internet. So these files need to be your 72 DPI files. Digital. So I just make one more folder because sometimes you're going to have projects where I'm going to require you to print your photos. Those photos, if you try to print 72 DPI photos, they won't look good. They will look pixelated, they will look distorted. And on the flip side, if you try to email 300 DPI photos, you're going to have a hard time. They're going to be too big. They're going to take forever. It's just going to be, each one has its hiccups if you try to do the wrong thing with a certain export. So anyways, right now we're exporting 72 DPI photos. All right, hit choose. We've now chosen the location of our photos in our exports folder in a folder called 72 DPI. Moving on to file naming. First things first, you won't have to do this again. Check rename to. Right here, just check it, rename to, and then in the drop down, select custom name dash sequence. Now, up until this point, we've named folders, but what I want you now to do is name the files themselves. So naming convention that I want you guys to keep is always put your first and last name in your file names when you're trying to turn them in. So in this instance, I would put Rich Gordon. Then what I want you to do is put the name of the project. In this instance, Light Study Demo. And then the type of file, 72 DPI. So we have some identifiers in here. Your name, the name of the project, and the resolution of the file. Notice what I didn't use. I did not use spaces. I used dashes. I would like you guys to get into the habit of not using spaces when you name your files. Reason being, what you do not see on the back end is that when you use a space to name your file, this is what the computer sees. Percentage sign, 20, percentage sign, every time you press the space bar. This doesn't matter as much, like you actually don't see this, but when you're sending files and attaching them to emails and those type of things, the code that it's used to send over the internet, HTML, is gonna see this. Now your file name is gonna grow long because it's gonna have all these characters in it. So to clean up the file name, make it more streamlined, you don't use spaces, but you can use an underscore or you can use a dash, whichever you want. It doesn't add those characters. So try to get in the habit of not using spaces in file names. All right, so this is a file name. First name, last name, name of project, type of file. In this instance, we are doing the 72 DPI, or if it makes more sense in your head, these are our digital print, digital exports. We're not printing these files. You are sending them, uploading them to Canvas, or sending them via email. When we get to the files that we will print, those will be labeled as such or labeled with 300 DPI. You can use whichever makes the most sense in your brain, the number or the way we're using the file. But designate the file in some way. Notice it says it's going to start on number 1. That's cool. We're good to go. The next thing we're going to go to is file settings. We're just going to bump our setting down to 80%. This is a way that we can control the, sorry, I hit enter too fast. We can control the file size. I'm gonna go back to my other window that I had open. Apologies. Okay, I'm back here. So 80% file settings. File settings, 80%. JPEG, it should already be on a JPEG, but if it's not, select JPEG. We're exporting as JPEG. And you don't have to control any of the other settings here. Just 80%. The last section we're going to control is image sizing. Now, this is where all the magic happens when it comes to resolution. We're going to check this button that says resize to fit. You're going to select the option that says width and height. Right here, width and height. So resize, make sure you have a blue check here, width and height. Then in the width section, I want you to type these numbers 1920. Over here, select pixels per inch in the resolution. On your resolution, we just talked about this. These are for digital, for sending over email. What should our resolution be?
72.
72. And leave the height section blank. So just delete whatever is in the height section. what that will do is that Lightroom will determine the height proportionally. It won't distort your photos. It will just determine whatever the height needs to be proportional to the width. Okay. Now, where do these numbers come from? The 1920 on the width. It's just a number that I've it's an about number that gives you a pretty good photo, pretty high quality photo. It's not too big. It's not too large. You get a decent file size, and it's manageable for you to upload to Canvas. That's where that file size comes from. Okay, so we're talking 1920, blank on the width, blank on the height. Oh, make sure you select pixels here too, not inches. Pixels. We want pixels. We're dealing with pixels. So these are the three sections. Export location, where we decide where our photos are going to go. Rename, where we decide the unique name of these actual files. And the file settings and the image size, where we decide the size of these files. Everything I've given you here is a decently high quality photo that can be emailed, text, uploaded, whatever. Then you hit export and you will see the progress bar in your top left-hand corner up here. There's two more steps in our process.
Just real quick, when I hit export, it says problem exporting files. The following files already exist. Should I hit overwrite?
Did you rename the files?
No, but I did what you did on accident in the middle of the process. I hit enter and then I had to go back to selecting it all. Export
hit
and finishing.
overwrite.
Overwrite. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so as these are going, if you navigate to the actual folder on your hard drive, you'll actually see all these JPEGs start to populate themselves in the folder. So if we went to the hard drive folder, and now I'm in Finder just because my computer is moving kind of slow. Here's my project folder. Here's the raw folder, but here's the exports folder, 72 DPI, digital, and here you go. Here are all my shots as JPEGs.
And then from Canvas, we just turn in the whole 72 DPI digital folder.
Nope. There's two more steps.
Okay, sorry.
Two more steps. Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay.
So one of the things that you will be doing per project is that, normally you're only going to turn in 6 exports, or whatever the number is that they tell you to turn in. But I want you to shoot 30 plus photos. So a holdover from film photography, when you used to shoot film, you didn't want to spend money to print everything. You didn't want to print the bad ones, but only way, how would you know which ones you did want to print? They would give you something called a contact sheet, CONTACT, contact sheet. And that sheet would show you every single frame you shot in a grid on a sheet, smaller, little tiles. And then you would go and go, let me give me that one, that one, that one, and that one, make it bigger. So in order for me to see everything you shot on your project, but not see everything as individual, I want you guys to create a contact sheet as well. And there's a way to do a digital contact sheet in Lightroom. So Light Study is a unique project again. You normally are not gonna give me every single photo, good and bad, exported larger individual. That's normally not gonna happen. Normally, you're only gonna export the best ones as larger individual shots. But this contact sheet process is going to be something you're going to do every project. Okay. So I have all my photos in my film strip visible. What I want to do is I want to select them all. And I'm going to go up to the print menu. Your windows are going to change. You're still going to have 3 columns, but your windows are going to change. What's in the 3 columns is going to change. So you're going to go to the print menu with the photos all selected down in the film strip. And then you're going to probably see something like this on the left-hand side of your column, your left column. The good thing about this is that most of everything we're about to do, once we do it this once, Lightroom is going to remember your selection and you're not going to have to like find it again. You literally can go straight to the button that saves your contact sheet. So what I want you to do is under template browser right here, template browser, drop that down and select Lightroom templates right here. Now there's some options here. Well, the one I want you to find is 4x5 contact sheet. 4x5 contact sheet. Once you select it, you'll see this grid that I'm talking about pop up in the center. 4x5 contact sheet. I'm hovering over it still under Lightroom templates. So template browser, Lightroom templates, 4x5 contact sheet. And make sure you have all your photos in your film strip selected. In the center, what it does is it shows you a preview. It's saying this is page 1 of 4, and this is how it will look. All your shots will be organized in this grid. On the right-hand side, this is where we decide how we want to save this out. We want to save this. So on the right-hand side, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to print job. So you probably have like things like rolled up like this. You want to select print job right here. And you're going to select the file resolution. You want to select print to JPEG file. It's defaulted to printer like that, but you want to select print to JPEG file and it changes it, some of the settings. I'm sorry, Lightroom, all the menus are really tiny. I don't know, they just trying to conserve space, but so select JPEG, and then in the resolution, we want to put this to 72. Again, these are digital files that we're sharing. We're not printing these files. So file resolution 72. And then the JPEG quality, we're going to bump this down to 60. Now, the good thing about all of this, everything we just did, once you do it once, the next time you come here with a new set of photos selected, it's all going to be the same. Like Lightroom does not have to do this again. Okay.
Professor?
Yes.
Towards the end of the class, if we have some time, would you let us, like, while we're on the camera, would you let us start exporting and see, like, if we have any questions and stuff, if you're on, we could ask you and you could help us?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this video to YouTube, so you have it. We're probably going to go all the way to the end, to get to the end. So it's just tough because it's just a short period of time, but I'll upload the video. You know, it's going to take a sec to export because it's a long video, but I'm going to get you guys this video ASAP, and then so you can follow along with it and try to get to this point. And then the submission for Light Study won't be due until Friday. So as far as submitting light study. Yeah, and you can have some time to walk through this process. Yeah, and then then you can fast forward and rewind and do things as you need to.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So once we do this 72 and 60, it'll be here. This is how it will be next time you click on this option for print with your things selected. Okay. Then we're gonna hit print file. Print to file down here at the bottom. It's gonna open a very familiar window, which is our Finder, our Explorer. On a Mac computer, by the way, if your Finder opens this tiny, hit this drop down arrow so it opens larger so you see everything. It's just something that happens on Mac that can be kind of annoying because you can't really see everything where all your folders are. Hit this drop down arrow here and you'll see it much larger. You'll see all the drives connected to your computer, etc. So I'm in 72 in my exports folder, in my project folder. So the project folder, exports folder, 72 DPI. I'm just gonna put my files in here, but I'm gonna name them my name, the project name, and contact sheet, because that's what it is, contact sheet. And then hit save. Again, progress bar in the top right left-hand corner, that progress bar will let you know that everything is going. It might take a second, give your computer a second. Your computer is dealing with very large files, it's trying to process and manipulate these files and so on. Okay, one more step. Lightroom's done though, we're done with Lightroom. So we're gonna open up Adobe Acrobat DC. You guys downloaded it. And when you open up Adobe Acrobat, it looks something like this. It might try to find all the PDF files on your computer and show you them. But the place we want to go to when we open Adobe Acrobat is Tools in the top left-hand corner up here, Tools. When you click on Tools, you're gonna see a tool that's named Combine Files right here, the purple one. You're gonna click on that one and you're gonna get this window. I like drag and drop just because I like opening my Finder window and dragging files into things. So I'm just gonna drag and drop. I'm gonna navigate to my project folder, my exports folder, and the 72 DPI folder inside of this project folder. And I'm just gonna select all of my light study images and drag them into the window. You'll see them populate themselves here. If anything is out of order, you can move them around here. You can shift them and move them, drag and drop and move them in a different order if you want in this scenario. The other thing that I'm going to add to this is my contact sheet. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to select all the files for my contact sheet and drag them into my window. There we go. I have now my images and my contact sheet. There's one more thing that I want you to drop in here. Every project that we do, I have you do some sort of write-up, some sort of explanation, written explanation of your project. I want you to save that explanation as a PDF file, and then I want you to drop that in here as well. So I'm just going to find a PDF file that I have on my computer. The syllabus, it's just for demo. And I'm going to drag the PDF file in here. Now, what you'll notice is that I have my photos, I have my contact sheet, and I have my PDF file, which will, in your guys' instance, will be your write-up. Once you have all those things in here, you've arranged them accordingly. Hit this blue button in the top corner, right corner that says Combine. And your progress bar will be down at the bottom here. And what you'll do is you'll start to see green checks on each thumbnail. That lets you know that everything is being combined into one file. So basically, our goal is that to Canvas, you turn in one file that contains everything. What you shot, your contact sheet, and your write-up. So it's doing its thing, checking it off, and when it's done, it's gonna open a file like this. Boom, we're open. Now, on the left-hand side here, if you hit this first icon that looks like pieces of paper, you will see every page in this PDF. So they're all here. Our last step is we need to save this. We need to save our file. We need to get you to the file that you're going to turn into Canvas. So in order to do that, if you do need to rearrange again, you can do that here as well. Just drag and drop the order. So we're going to go to File, Save as Other. This is important because we want to make sure you have the smallest file to turn in. So you're not dealing with, oh, I didn't upload because the file's too big or whatever it might be. So you want to go File, Save as Other, Reduced Size PDF. You take like a screenshot of this option here. Save as Other. There's Save As and there's Save. Save as Other is the one we want to use. And then Reduced File Size PDF is the one that we would like to select. Whoop, I selected the wrong one, sorry. File, Save as Other, Reduced File Size PDF. Okay, it's gonna give you a little notification. From this point on, any notifications that Adobe gives you, select the positive option. Yes, confirm, okay, just select the positive option. In this instance, it's saying, in order to save a reduced file size PDF, you need to save a regular PDF. Just hit yes. It's gonna ask you to name the file. Naming conventions are the same. First name, last name, project name, and in this instance, final, because this is the final thing. This is the thing you're turning in. First name, last name, project name, final. Notice the .pdf is here. We want to leave that .pdf. And I'm going to locate the location I want to put this. Just like we've done everything else for this project, we are going to put it inside of our project folder. And I'm just going to put it inside the project folder right here. Just kind of out of in the open because I want to turn this in. I'm going to hit save. Again, I'm going to get another pop-up. It's just asking me about compatibility. Click the positive option, which is okay. And then hit save again. Just always hit the positive option. You don't have to change the file name. You don't have to, because now what we're doing, we've saved the regular size PDF. Now we're going to save the reduced size PDF. We just want it to be the same name. The only one we care about is the reduced size PDF. So we hit save. Again, hit the positive option, which is replace. And you'll see this progress bar down here on the right-hand corner. That file that is saved after all of this is the file that you will turn in to Canvas. One PDF file that has your name, the project name, and all of the assets and the things that you shot inside of it. I'll show you it here once it's finished saving. Sorry. So like I said, I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. You're gonna have the video. You can go through it. The submission for Light Study will be due on Friday. So you'll have a few days to kind of go through this process, really just like lock it in. Believe it or not, eventually this process will become like natural. You will get used to this process. It's a lot of steps, but eventually all the steps are going to make sense why you're doing these steps. So here's the final PDF. As you can see, here's all the photos in the PDF. This is just one file containing everything that I shot. Notice how all the photos are individually. These are my selects. And in case of a Light Study, you have way more selects than you would normally. Then we have the contact sheet here. And then we have our write-up, which in this case, I just used the syllabus as an example of how you can put a PDF inside of the file. This is the file that you turn in, and it has your name and the name of the project in the file name. So you want to remember those naming conventions. That is the process of getting photos from your memory card to turn them in. Multi-layered, multifaceted, a lot of steps, but that's why I'm giving you some more days to sit with the video and the photos that you actually took and rewind. I suggest, like, if you feel like you're skipping something, you feel like you're missing something, make sure you did every step, because a lot of times hiccups come when something is skipped, and that's when like issues can arise. So I know that there might be, some questions along the way while you're doing this, but if there are, reach out to me, after you try to like sit with the video and go through. It will be tough to individually do everybody's and take you through, because there's just so many people in the class and we have just a limited amount of time. But I want you to be able to get through it and get used to the process. Okay. Everything that I've done with like the hard drive and the naming conventions and stuff, it's to make your process in Lightroom a lot easier. So it might seem a lot of extra stuff up front, but it's going to be better in the long run when you're trying to find all these files and manage everything. And also this naming convention and folder structure, this kind of methodology of organizing files, it really helps in general, just organizing files on your computer, just for anything. Naming folders and naming subfolders gets you away from having a desktop with 60,000 icons all over it, and you're trying to find something, or everything that is ever in existence in your computer lives in your downloads folder. It really helps you organize things, and when you get like 4 quarters in, you're like, where was that project that I did for this thing? You can literally just search the name of the project and you will find it because you put it in a folder with that name. That's the idea behind it in organizing in this way. We'll come back to some more technical things in Lightroom, but they'll be a little bit more fun because we're going to talk about editing and enhancing your photos and using those features of Lightroom. And we'll also come back to this export process. But what I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to give you till Friday to turn in the Light Study assignment. There will be another assignment, another shooting assignment this week, but really light shooting, nothing too crazy. You're going to be doing a little bit of more research. And I'll put this description again in Canvas, you'll see it. But I want you guys to do some research on depth of field. DEPTH of field. There are two types of depth of field. Basically, what you guys are going to be doing is researching and telling me what the two types are and showing me examples. Now, you're also going to be taking some photos to try to achieve both types. A little hint, in order to achieve both types, you have to change your aperture. Aperture controls depth of field, and you will find this in your research. Of course, when we get to class next week, I'm going to go all through it. I'm going to show you examples. I'm going to talk about how to change it. I'm going to tell you how to do it. But what I want you to do is to do some self-exploration and try it. There's no holding you to the fire that you're going to get it. It's fine. I just want you to do the research and try it, knowing that we've already kind of talked about how to change aperture on the camera and those type of things. Next week, we'll do a whole thing about depth of field, how to achieve it. We'll do some demo shooting and all of those things. And then we'll have another assignment where you guys will really go and try to create some really cool things shooting using the technique of depth of field. Okay. So that's all I got for you guys today. It was a lot. This week is always a lot getting through Lightroom. Like I said, once we end here, I'm going to hit, it's going to convert the file. It'll probably take about an hour to convert the file and then another 30 minutes for me to upload it to YouTube. But once it is there, I will send an announcement to the class with the link to this lecture so you have it, so that you can go through and really get through the process of processing your photos. Okay. And then I'll give you the assignment description that I just gave you verbally. I'll give it to you in Canvas as well. Cool. Any questions that, other than what I just covered? And I know there's probably a lot of questions about the process, but that's why I'm going to upload the video. Any other general questions or anything?
I have a general question unrelated to this. Does the camera lens make a difference in the quality, or is it all of the quality and everything in the actual body of the camera?
The lens will make a difference. Certain lenses are crisper. There are more expensive lenses. There are lenses that can shoot with a wider aperture, a much larger aperture. Yeah, so the lens can be a difference. Oftentimes in professional photography, the lens costs more than the body of the camera.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
For the light study, like the write-up part, is there a specific length that you're looking for? Is it just basically hitting all the points that you mentioned in the assignment?
Hitting all the points that I mentioned, and it's usually just like about a page. Yeah. Caroline. Sorry, raising your hand a couple times.
Hi. So when I was working with my camera this past week, I noticed that the f-stop would only go so low, but then at certain times when I was adjusting the zoom, it would go lower.
On the cameras that you guys have, your lenses, this is also to Emma, your point about the lens. Different lenses have different abilities. The kit lens, which most of your cameras have, is something called a variable aperture, meaning it can only be at its largest point, its largest opening, at one focal length, which is the widest focal length. The number on the lens is actually 18. So the moment you zoom in with the lens, you change the ability of the lens to open wide. So anything that's not the widest point of zoom will be a different aperture. So 3.5, you can only achieve 3.5 aperture at the widest zoom, which is 18. The moment you turn that tire and you zoom in closer, because of the mechanics in the lens, 3.5 will change to 4.5 and will then change to 5.6. So moving forward, I'm actually going to tell you guys to only shoot at the widest lens, or widest view. Don't zoom in. If you need to get closer to your subject, put your camera closer and go closer for the purposes so that you can achieve the lowest number, but the biggest opening in your lens. That's why that was happening, because it's the mechanics of the lenses that you're using.
And 3.5 is the lowest it goes.
For those lenses, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Emma, I don't know what lens you're using, but you might have a lens that can go lower than 3.5.
Using a
If you-
EFS 10 to 22 millimeter, and it's like
On
a
the
eye lens. too.
right, on the front of the ring, it should tell you, you should see a 1 and a colon and the number.
1, 3, 5 to 4.5.
Okay, you have a variable lens as well, and the lowest aperture it can be, which is the biggest opening in the lens it can be, is 3.5. So
Okay.
you're similar to everybody else in the class,
Perfect.
except yours can go wider. So everybody else in the classes, their lens goes the other way. So yours has 10 to 18, is that what you said?
22.
10 to 22.
Mhm.
While everybody else in the class had 18 to 55. The larger the number, the more you can zoom in. The lower the number, the more you can go wide,
Okay.
right?
Got it.
Yeah, so just know 18 is a key number to achieving 3.5 with you guys' cameras. That's gonna come into play when we do shallow, the 2 types of depth of field, okay? So just technical things, we'll get through it. Every camera is unique. Any other questions? Cool. Well, I know that was a lot. It was a lot to absorb and get through. If there are any questions once I do upload the video for the Lightroom process, let me know, and then we can walk through that process. And yeah, if there's any questions once I put the assignment up, let me know. A lot of you sent me questions, and I tried to get back to you as fast as I could this week. So I'll continue to do that. Try to help you out and get you through the process so that we can just get to shooting photos and start making some cool stuff. So thank you guys. Thank you for bearing with all the new technical things, and we'll get through it. Cool?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good week. We'll be in touch.